女士们、先生们，上午好！我们高兴地邀请到温家宝总理与中外记者见面，并回答大家提问。现在，先请温总理讲话。
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Today we are delighted to invite Premier Wen Jiabao to meet Chinese and foreign press and take your questions. First, some opening remarks from Premier Wen.
记者朋友们，这是我在两会之后 最后一次同大家见面，我要感谢多年来记者朋友们对中国改革和建设事业的关注。今年可能是最困难的一年。 但也可能是最有希望的一年。人民需要政府的冷静、果敢和诚信。政府需要人民的信任、 支持和帮助。面对国际金融危机和欧债危机的蔓延发展，关键是 把我们自己的事情办好。我将在最后一点守直而不废，处意而不回，永远和人民在一起。
Friends of the press, this is the last time for me to meet the friends of the press after the MPC and CPPCC sessions. I want to first take this opportunity to express my appreciation for your long-standing interest in China's reform and development. This year may be the most difficult one, but it may also be the most promising year. The people need their government to be calm, resolute, and trustworthy. And the government needs the people's trust, support, and help. In the face of the deepening international financial crisis and a European debt crisis, what is most important is that we run our own affairs well. In my last year in office, I will not waver in carrying out my duties and will remain true to my conviction. I will always be with the people. Thank you.
我愿意回答大家的问题。
Now I'm ready to take your questions.
好，请大家提问。中区第3排这位男士，对，第3排。
谢谢主持人。总理您好，我是新华社记者，也是中国新华新闻电视网的记者。今年是本届政府任期的最后一年，请问总理，您如何评价自己的工作？谢谢总理。
With Xinhua News Agency and the China Xinhua News Network Corporation, Mr. Premier, this year is the last year in the term of this government. How do you evaluate your work?
我担任总理已经9年了， 这些年过得不易，也不平凡，但我总觉得还有许多工作没有做完，许多事情没有办好，有不少遗憾。我懂得，政府的一切权利都是人民赋予的。我所做的工作都是应尽的责任。我为能做人民的公仆，而为人民办些实事而感到欣慰。我真诚希望我连同我这一生给人民做的有益的事情，人们都把它忘记，并随着我日后长眠地下而淹没无闻。由于能力所限，再加上体制等各方面的原因，我的工作还有许多不足。虽然没有因为不负责任而造成任何一件事情上的失误，但是作为国家机关国家最高行政机关的负责人，对于我在任职期间中国经济和社会所发生的问题，我都负有责任。为此，我感到歉疚。在最后一年，我将像一匹负轭的老马，不到最后一刻绝不松套。努力以新的成绩弥补我工作上的缺憾，以得到人民的谅解和宽恕。入者恳恳以尽忠，出者谦谦以自毁。我将坚守这个做人的准则，并把希望留给后人。我相信他们一定会比我 做得更好。我秉承苟利国家生死以，其因祸福必趋之的信念，为国家服务整整45年。我为国家人民倾注了我全部的热情、心血和精力，没有谋过私利。我敢于面对人民，面对历史，知我罪我，其为春秋。
I have served as the Premier for 9 years. They have been 9 difficult but momentous years. I often feel that much work remains to be finished, many things have yet to be properly addressed, and there are many regrets. I know full well that all power of the government comes from the people, and every piece of the work that I've done for the people during my term of office is only a fulfillment of my due responsibilities. I feel truly encouraged and happy that I get to have this opportunity to serve the people as a public servant. I sincerely hope that the people will forget me and all the concrete things that I've done for them, and they will fall into oblivion as one day I shall go to my eternal rest. Due to incompetent abilities and institutional and other factors, there is still much room for improvement in my work. Although I have never committed any intentional error in my work because of dereliction of duty, as head of the top executive body of the country, I should assume responsibility for the problems that have occurred in China's economy and society during my term of office, for which I feel truly sorry. In my last year in office, I will be as committed as ever as an old steed. I will continue to make my utmost efforts to serve the people, to make up for the shortfall in my work with new achievements, and to win people's understanding and forgiveness. When one is in office, he should discharge his duty conscientiously. When leaving office, he should conduct himself with humility and exercise self-reflection. I will adhere to this principle in conducting myself, and I place hope on the next generation. I have full confidence that they will do better than me. I have devoted 45 years of my life to the service of this country, remaining committed to the conviction that I shall dedicate myself to the interests of the country in life and death, irrespective of personal weal and woe. I have always made utmost efforts with strong passion and energy to serve the country and the people, and I have never pursued personal gains. I have the courage to face the people and to face history. There are people who will appreciate what I have done, but there are also people who will criticize me. Ultimately, history will have the final say.
好，下一位记者，北区第2排中间美国全国广播公司。
Thank you, Premier Wen. Overall, the past 10 years have seen China's fastest economic growth, thanks in part to a benign international environment and trading system. With due respect, Premier Wen, in your last year in office, if you would have one thing that you can be allowed to do to rebalance the U.S.-China economic relationship that can create American jobs, for example, in keeping with the award bestowed on you recently in Boston by the International Longshoremen's Association, then what is it that you would like to do? Would you consider, for example, reforming China's trade regime that some American critics say distort global competition in China's favor? Thank you.
我是美国全国广播公司的记者。得益于较好的国际环境和贸易体系，过去的10年是中国经济发展最快的10年。在您任期的最后1年，特别是考虑到不久前在波士顿的美国国际码头工人协会向您授予奖项，如果您只能做一件事来使中美经贸关系实现再平衡，为更多的美国工人创造就业机会，您将会做什么事？有一些批评人士表示，中国扭曲了国际竞争，使贸易对自己有利。您是否会考虑改革中国的贸易体系？
最近，美国码头工人协会授予我一个美国工人最佳之友奖。这个奖，与其说是授予我的，不如说是中美经贸互利共赢的一个范例。如果你说。
Well, not long ago, the International Longshoremen Association in the United States gave me an award of Best Friend of American Workers. Although I am the recipient of this award, I would rather see this award as a strong example showing that the business relationship between China and the United States is of mutual benefit.
记者先生提到，如果我做一件事，能够缓解中美贸易的不平衡，那么我选择哪一件事情？其实这个问题，我已经深思熟虑很久了。并且在2009年和2011年2次同奥巴马总统做了深谈。我以为解决中美贸易的不平衡以及由此引起的各种困难和摩擦，还是要通过合作的办法。因此，我比较完整地提出了关于促进中美经贸、金融与投资合作的一揽子 计划的建议，它包括进一步发展中美之间的双向贸易，中国扩大与美国产品的进口，美国要开放美国产品的出口，取消限制。其次，加强双向投资。两国应该为投资创造有利条件，并实行投资保护。第三，加强两国在新能源、新材料、节能环保、航天航空等高科技领域的合作，开辟新的合作领域。第四，就是加强基础设施的建设的合作，并使这种合作与金融合作相联系。就是说，中国将投资美国的基础设施建设，而扩大美国工人的就业，这是一举双得的事情。奥巴马总统非常重视我的建议，双方已经就此进行研究。我相信合作比对抗好。只要循着这条正确的路子走下去，中美经贸关系会走上一条健康、持久发展的道路。至于你说到美国关系、中国贸易体系的改革问题，如果讲得明确一点，主要指3个问题。第一，就是进出口的基本平衡。我可以明确地告诉你，在2011年，中国经常性账户占GDP 的比重已经达到2.8%，小于3%的国际公认标准。也就是说，在国际收支和货物贸易上，中国已经 实现了基本平衡。第二，汇率，这是美国关注的。从05年汇改以来，中国实际有效汇率已经提高30%。请记者先生注意一种现象：从去年9月份开始，在香港市场，无本金远期交割，也就是所谓 NDF， 开始双向波动。这就告诉我们，中国的人民币汇率有可能已经接近均衡水平。我们将继续加大汇改的力度，特别是较大幅度的实行双向的波动。第三，我们将坚持多哈会合的原则，主张自由贸易，反对保护主义。谢谢。
You asked me if there is but one thing that I can do to ease the trade imbalance between China and the United States. What steps will I take? Well, as a matter of fact, I have been thinking about this matter for a long time. In 2009 and 2011, I had thorough exchange of views with President Barack Obama of the United States about this topic. I believe if we are to ease the trade imbalance between the two countries and resolve the difficulties and frictions in the business ties between China and the United States, we still need to rely on cooperation. For that purpose, I have set out to the US side a package proposal that suggests the two countries embrace stronger business, financial, and investment cooperation. The main content of my proposal is as follows. First, we need to further enhance two-way trade between China and the United States. The Chinese side is prepared to buy more from the United States, and the United States needs to ease its restrictions on related exports of goods to China. Second, the two countries should work together to increase mutual investment. Both sides need to create favorable conditions for mutual investment and reach early agreement on investment protection. Third, we need to enhance cooperation in high-tech fields, covering new materials, new energy sources, energy conservation, environmental protection, and aviation, so that we can open up new dimensions for China-US cooperation. Fourth, we need to enhance our cooperation in infrastructural development. At the same time, we should bring it in line with our financial cooperation. That means China will make investment in the infrastructural construction in the United States, and that will help contribute to the generation of local jobs, and I believe that measure is of mutual benefit. President Obama has taken my proposal very seriously, and competent authorities of the two sides are studying this matter. I believe that cooperation between China and the US is always better than confrontation. As long as we continue to move in this right direction, the business ties between China and the United States will enjoy sustained and sound growth. With respect to your question concerning a possible reform of China's trading system, I would like to make 3 points. First, on the balance between imports and exports of China, I would like to tell you that in 2011, the current account surplus of China accounted for 2.8% of its GDP. That is below the 3% level that is internationally recognized as appropriate. That is a demonstration that our international balance of payments, in particular in trade in goods, is approaching basic equilibrium. Second, on the RMB exchange rate, which I know is of high interest to the US side. Since we launched the reform of the RMB exchange rate formation mechanism in 2005, the real effective exchange rate of the Chinese currency has appreciated by about 30%. I would like to draw your attention to such a phenomenon, that is, since last September, the RMB exchange rate has experienced two-way flotation on the Hong Kong NDF market. That shows that the RMB exchange rate may possibly have reached an equilibrium level. We will press ahead with the reform of the RMB exchange rate formation mechanism. In particular, we welcome greater elasticity of the Chinese currency exchange rate. And third, we will continue to participate actively in the Doha round negotiations. We will continue to support free trade and oppose protectionism.
下一个问题，北区第3排的那个男士，第3排。哎，对，没错。
总理你好，我是台湾中国时报的记者。我想今天请教的问题是在过去4年，这个两岸实现的这个3通直航啊，那有关这个人民的往来跟这个经贸交流合作，大概取得一个比较历史性的高峰。那过去大家台湾的方面的媒体上有一个评价，大概认为过去4年大概是两岸关系60年来可能最稳定而且最和平发展的4年。那未来4年可能要延续这样的一个发展的机遇啊。那我的问题是在这个政府最后1年的任期里面，你所期待的两岸的文化交流的这个前景啊，大概是什么样的一个情况？那我们知道，在去年6月份，那有关这个你所提到的过去这个有关护村山居图的故事啊，那去年6月在台北故宫曾经展出这个黄公望这个老先生所创作的这一幅有关2个历史画卷，在台北故宫合璧展出。那不晓得当时你的心情是怎么样啊？那今天到场很多台湾的新闻同业里面，大家很关心说，在明年3月你退休之后，有没有计划到台湾自由行啊？谢谢。
With China Times, over the past 4 years, the two sides of the Taiwan Straits have achieved 3 direct links and direct air flights. The business exchanges and people-to-people contacts across the Taiwan Straits have reached an unprecedented level. Some people in Taiwan say that the past 4 years have been the most stable and peaceful period in the development of cross-strait relations over the past more than 60 years. And we expect this good momentum to continue in the following 4 years. My question is, in your last year in office, how do you see the prospect of the cross-straits business ties and cultural exchanges? Moreover, last June, the painting of the Fuchun mountain scenery by Mr. Huang Gongwang was put on display in Taipei Palace Museum. You once told the story about this painting, and when eventually the 2 pieces of the painting were put together on display in Taiwan, how did you feel? Many Taiwan journalists are very interested in learning. Do you plan to visit Taiwan after you retire in March next year?
我已经连续10年在这个场合谈台湾问题了，每一次心情都很不平静。我很高兴地看到，去年两岸同胞交往更频繁，感情更融洽，关系更紧密。9·2共识的政治、经济、文化和民意基础更牢固。如果说在本届政府最后1年，在促进两岸关系和平发展，特别是在加强经贸关系方面再做一点什么实事，我首先考虑的是要加快ECFA 的后续谈判，在加强两岸经贸交往当中，特别要照顾台湾中小企业、特色产业和基层群众的利益，尤其是中南部群众的利益。两岸的金融合作会有进一步的发展，包括推进银行的结算体系的合作，鼓励双边银行相互参股，为支持经贸合作发挥金融的作用。对于台资在大陆的企业，我们要给予特别的关心，创造条件，帮助他们转型升级，扩大内销市场。我在09年在这里讲了富春山居图的故事。精诚所至金石未开。我高兴地得知这幅分离很久的富春山居图终于在台北合璧展出，这反映出中华文化具有强大的向心力和震撼力。我虽不能至，但心向往之。我常想，难道几千年的 文化的恩泽，就不能消弭几十年的政治的恩怨。我真诚希望两岸进一步加强文化交流和人员往来。至于我在退休以后能不能到台湾去自由行，坦诚地讲，我愿意去。但是还得看条件。不过，请你转达对台湾人民的问候。我想起了台湾割让以后，台中有一位诗人叫林朝松，他曾经写过一句诗，叫“晴天再补虽无数，缺圆重圆缺月重圆会有时”。我相信，只要全体中华儿女共同努力，祖国统一和民族振兴的大业一定能够实现。这是整个中国人的骄傲。谢谢。
This is the 10th consecutive time for me to address the Taiwan question on this occasion, and each time I do so, strong emotions would well up inside me. I'm happy to see that last year, the two sides of the Taiwan Straits enhanced their exchanges, and compatriots on the two sides of the Taiwan Straits have become closer to each other. The political, economic, and cultural foundation for the 1992 consensus has been enhanced, and popular support for the 1992 consensus has become stronger. You asked me, in the last year of the term of office, what further steps will this government take to promote peaceful development of cross-strait relations, and in particular to enhance the business ties between the two sides? Well, I would like to say that we will accelerate the follow-up negotiations of ECFA. In expanding the business ties between the two sides, we will pay particular attention to accommodating the interests of small and medium enterprises in Taiwan, the industries of local characteristics in Taiwan, and the grassroots people in Taiwan, particularly those in central and southern Taiwan. At the same time, we will promote cross-straits financial cooperation. We have the plan to put in place a bank clearing system, and we will encourage banks of the two sides to acquire stake in each other, so that banks will be able to play their due roles in boosting economic cooperation and trade between the two sides. We will pay particularly high attention to the development of Taiwan-invested enterprises on the mainland. We will create favorable conditions to help them achieve upgrading and expand the domestic market. In 2009, I told the story about the painting of Fuchun Mountain. I believe that with utmost sincerity, no difficulty is insurmountable. I'm encouraged to learn that the two pieces of this painting, which have been apart from each other for so long, were finally put on display as one piece in Taipei. This shows that the Chinese culture has strong cohesiveness and inspiration. I wish that I could have been able to go and see for myself. I cannot help but ask, why can't the nourishment of our common cultural bond that has stretched several thousand years resolve the political grudges between the two sides that have lasted just several decades? It is my sincere hope that the two sides will work together to promote people-to-people and cultural contacts. You asked me if I would like to take a tour to Taiwan after retirement. Well, honestly, I would really love to do it if the conditions permit. I would like to ask you to convey my greetings to the compatriots in Taiwan. At this moment, I cannot help but recall a poem written by a person from central Taiwan by the name Lin Chaosong. He wrote the name shortly after Taiwan was ceded. The poem reads, "There is no way to mend the heel in my heart, but there will be a day when the half moon becomes full again. I truly believe that with joint efforts of all compatriots of the Chinese nation, we will achieve the reunification and revitalization of the country. And that is something that all Chinese can take pride in."
下位记者，南区第6排，左边第3个位，新加坡联合早报。
谢谢温总理您好，新加坡联合早报很高兴能在您最后一次的两会后记者会上提问。我们的问题是，最近几年您多次在不同场合提到了政治体制改革，引起了很大的关注。那请问您多次反复提到政治体制改革的原因在哪里？中国推进政治体制改革的难度又在什么地方？谢谢。
With Lianhe Zaobao of Singapore, in recent years you have addressed political structural reform on several occasions, and that has attracted wide attention. Why have you done so, and what is the difficulty that confronts China's political structural reform?
是的，这些年我多次谈到政治体制改革，应该说已经比较全面和具体了。如果问我为什么关注这件事情，我出于责任感。粉碎四人帮以后，我们党虽然做出了若干历史问题的决议，实行了改革开放，但是文革的错误和封建的影响并没有完全清楚。随着经济的发展， 又产生了分配不公、诚信缺失、贪污腐败等问题。我深知解决这些问题，不仅要进行经济体制改革，而且要进行政治体制改革，特别是党和国家领导制度的改革。现在改革到了攻坚阶段，没有政治体制改革的成功，经济体制改革不可能进行到底。已经取得的成果，还有可能得而复失。社会上新产生的问题，也不能从根本上得到解决。文化大革命，这样历史的悲剧，还有可能重新发生。每个有责任的党员和领导干部都应该感到紧迫感。当然，我深知改革的难度，主要是任何一项改革必须有人民的觉醒、人民的支持、人民的积极性和创造精神。在中国这样有13亿人口的大国，又必须从国情出发，循序渐进地建立社会主义民主政治。这不是一件轻而易举的事情，但是改革只能前进，不能停滞，更不能倒退。停滞和倒退都没有出路。我知道人们不仅看我说什么，我的理想和信念，更看我通过自己的努力能够实现什么样的目的。 我可以对大家讲，为了中国的改革开放事业，只要还有一口气，我就奋斗一天。
I have addressed the topic of political structural reform in China on many occasions in recent years, and actually I have set out my views on this topic in full and in detail. Why have I taken such a keen interest in this matter? I would like to say that it is because I have been seized by a strong sense of responsibility. After the crackdown on the Gan 4, our party adopted the resolution on the several historical matters and took the important decision of conducting reform and opening up in China. However, the mistake of the Cultural Revolution and impact of feudalism have yet to be fully eliminated. And as our economy continues to develop, such new problems as income disparities, lack of credibility, and corruption have occurred. I am fully aware that to resolve these problems, we must press ahead with both economic structural reform and political structural reform, in particular reform in the leadership system of our party and country. Now, reform in China has come to a critical stage. Without a successful political structural reform, it is impossible for us to fully institute economic structural reform, and the gains we have made in this area may be lost. New problems that have cropped up in China's society will not be fundamentally resolved, and such historical tragedy as the Cultural Revolution may happen again. I believe any member of the party and government official with a sense of responsibility should fully recognize that this is an urgent task for our country. I know very well that the reform will not be an easy one. The reform will not be able to succeed without the consciousness, the support, the enthusiasm and creativity of our people. To conduct such reform in our big country with 1.3 billion population, we must always bear in mind China's national circumstances and develop our socialist democracy in a step-by-step manner. The reform can only go forward. The reform must not stand still, still less go backward, because that offers no way out. I know that the people not only take an interest in what I have to say and what my ideals are, but also, and more importantly, in what results my efforts can bring. I would like to tell you that even with a single breath, I'm still prepared to dedicate myself fully to advancing China's reform and opening up cause.
下一个问题，南区第7排那位男士。
谢谢主持人。总理您好，人民日报社记者提问：最近一轮房地产调控、市场调控，大家都非常关注，中央的决心很大，力度也很大，一些城市的房价已经开始回落。请问总理，住房价格回落到什么程度才算是达到了调控目标？另外，面对经济增速放缓和地方财政压力，楼市调控会不会半途而废？谢谢。
With People's Daily, people have paid much attention to the recent round of housing market regulation. We have seen a strong resolve and tough measures taken by the central authorities. Home prices in some Chinese cities have started to level off. I would like to ask, how much does the home price need to drop for it to be considered as meeting the regulation target. And with the economic slowdown and pressure of local finances, will this round of regulation measures be abandoned halfway?
我最近出于一种责任感，把从03年开始的房地产调控认真地回顾了一下。其实我们在03年已经提出了6条调控措施，05年又制定了国8条，06年又制定了国6条。但是，为什么调控不见成效？群众也在责怪我们，说房价越调越高，政策不出中南海。我听到了，感到十分痛心。我觉得，房地产市场关系到财政、金融、土地、企业等各项政策。涉及到中央和地方的利益关系，特别是地方从土地收让中获取大量的收入，涉及到金融企业和房地产企业的利益，改革的阻力相当之大。为什么这2年房地产调控在艰难中看到一点曙光？有所进展。首先是我们调控的决心坚定而不动摇。其次，我们抓住了一个抑制投机和投资性需求的要害问题，采取了有针对性的政策措施。对于房地产市场，我有个基本看法，那就是中国有13亿多人口，又处在工业化和城镇化阶段，对住房的需求是刚性的，而且将会是持续的。当然，我们说住有其居，并不意味着 住者有其屋。从方向上看，应该鼓励更多的人租房。关于房地产市场发展，我有几个观点。第一，要保持房地产长期平稳和健康发展。如果盲目发展，出现经济泡沫，一旦破灭，不仅影响房地产市场，而且会拖累整个经济。第二，什么叫房价合理回归？我以为合理的房价应该是使房价与居民的收入相适应。房价与投入和合理的利润相匹配。现在我可以明确地告诉大家，房价还远远没有回到合理价位。因此，调控不能放松。如果放松，将前功尽弃，而且会造成房地产市场的混乱。不利于房地产的长期健康和稳定发展。第三，房地产的发展毫无疑问要充分发挥市场配置资源的基础性作用。就是说，要充分利用市场这只手，但是政府这只手也不可以缺少，因为它更具有稳定性和促进公平。谢谢。
We have started to take regulatory measures for China's housing market from 2003, and recently I have fully reviewed all these measures we have taken since then. As a matter of fact, in 2003, we already released 6 measures to regulate the housing market. In 2005, the State Council issued 8 measures, and in 2006, another 6 measures were adopted. But why haven't these measures made a difference? People complained that the more regulation measures, the higher the home prices. They complained that the housing regulation policy cannot even make its way out of Zhongnanhai. I feel deeply distressed by such complaints on the part of the people. I have recognized that the housing market concerns the fiscal, financial, and land policies of the government, as well as the interests of companies. It involves the relationship between the central and local governments. In particular, it involves the large amount of revenues of local governments from the transfer of land use rights. It also concerns the interests of financial institutions and real estate developers. Our reform on this front has encountered massive resistance. But why, in the past couple of years, have we seen a glimmer of hope amidst all the difficulties in regulating the housing market? And why have our measures in the recent couple of years paid off? Well, it is because, first, we have a very firm resolve. Second, we have been able to put our finger on the crux of this problem, that is, to curb the speculative and investment-driven demand, and we have taken focused measures to address this problem. China is a big country with 1.3 billion people at a stage of rapid industrialization and urbanization. Therefore, the Chinese people's housing demand is inelastic, and this kind of demand is here to stay. We have set the target of providing adequate housing for all people, but this does not mean that each and everyone has to own his home. We will continue to encourage people to rent homes. With respect to the development of the housing market in China, I would like to make 3 observations. First, we must ensure the long-term, steady, and sound growth of the housing market. If we develop the housing market blindly and a bubble emerges in the housing sector, when the bubble gets burst, not only the housing market will be adversely affected, it will weigh on the entire Chinese economy. Second, what do we mean by bringing home prices back to a reasonable level? What we mean is that a reasonable housing price should match people's income, the construction cost, and the profits should be reasonable too. At present, the home price in China is far from coming back to a reasonable level. Therefore, we must not slacken our efforts in regulating the housing sector. Otherwise, past gains will be lost and there will be chaos in China's housing sector. That is not in the interest of promoting the long-term, steady and sound growth of the housing market in our country. And third, in developing the housing market, we must fully bring out the fundamental role of the market in allocating resources. That is to say, we will make most of the hand of the market, but at the same time, the hand of the government is indispensable too, because that can promote stability and social fairness.
好，下一个问题。中区第5排，第8位那位男士。对。
总理好，我是来自香港无线电视。总理，您03年曾经访问过香港，那9年过去了，香港也发生了很多的变化，而我们也将迎来新的变化。对于现在进行的香港特首选举，请问总理你有什么看法？另外，随着政府换届跟欧债危机等挑战外，你认为香港还面对怎么样的深层次的问题有待解决？最后，对于香港未来的发展，总理你有什么的祝愿？谢谢。
With TVB of Hong Kong, Mr. Premier, you visited Hong Kong in 2003, and much has changed in the past 9 years since your last visit to Hong Kong. Now the Hong Kong people are having election of a new chief executive. How do you see the election of the chief executive in Hong Kong SCR? In addition to the challenges brought by a change of government and the European debt crisis to Hong Kong, what underlying problems do you think Hong Kong faces, and how do you see the future development of Hong Kong?
我是爱香港的。03年我曾经去过1次香港，我在那里用了黄宗宪先生的一句诗来形容：寸寸河山寸寸金。香港回归15年了，15年香港发展的变化，证明了一国两制、港人治港、高度自治具有强大的生命力。在这15年当中，香港走过的路也不平常，遇到了2次金融危机。但是在特区政府领导下，港人共同努力，战胜了金融危机。香港至今仍保持着国际金融中心的地位和高度的自由经济。2011年，香港的人均 GDP 达到34200亿美金，是历史上最高。就业也处于较好的水平。但是，香港现在是困难与机遇同在。一方面，金融危机和欧债危机的影响和压力还存在。另一方面，香港还面临着经济下行和通胀的双重压力。在这种情况下，香港必须努力发展经济，改善民生，推进民主，保持社会和谐。而且重点解决好社会公平、物价高涨、居民住房和教育、医疗等重大问题。现在香港正在进行第4届特首的选举。 我相信，只要坚持公开、公正、公平的原则，并且严格依照法律程序办事，香港一定能够选出一个为多数港人所拥护的特首。目前香港确实有困难，但是我想起邓小平先生的一句话：港人是能够治理好香港的，要有这个自信心。我真想再去一次香港，到淘大花园看看那里的居民，到港大同学生们进行交流。请记者转达我对香港同胞的问候，谢谢。
I have deep love for Hong Kong. During my visit to Hong Kong back in 2003, I quoted a line from a poem written by Mr. Huang Zunxian to express how I feel about Hong Kong. He wrote, "Every inch of the rivers and mountains of the land is precious as gold." Well, 15 years have passed since Hong Kong returned to the motherland. What has happened in Hong Kong over the past 15 years has shown that the principle of one country, two systems, Hong Kong people administering Hong Kong, and high degree of autonomy has strong vitality. In the past 15 years, Hong Kong has traveled a momentous course. It has encountered two financial crises, but under the leadership of the SAR government, and with joint efforts of the Hong Kong compatriots, Hong Kong has successfully weathered the financial crisis and sustained its status as an international financial center and still enjoys a sophisticated free economy. In 2011, the per capita GDP of Hong Kong reached a record high of $34,200 US, and the employment situation there is in a positive shape. Hong Kong now faces both difficulties and opportunities. The financial crisis in the world and the European debt crisis still have exerted an adverse impact on Hong Kong, and the pressure is still there. Moreover, Hong Kong is under the dual pressure of a slowing economic growth and inflation. Under such circumstances, Hong Kong must continue to work hard to develop the economy, improve people's lives, advance democracy, and maintain social harmony. In particular, efforts should be made to address such important matters as social equity, consumer price hikes, people's housing needs, education, and people's medical care on a priority basis. The election of the fourth chief executive of the Hong Kong SAR is currently underway. I believe that as long as the principle of openness, justice, and fairness is observed and the relevant legal procedures are complied with, the Hong Kong people will elect a chief executive who enjoys the support of the vast majority of the people in Hong Kong. It is true that Hong Kong faces some difficulties, but I cannot help but recall a remark made by Mr. Deng Xiaoping. He said there should be confidence that the Hong Kong people can run Hong Kong well. I truly hope that I will have another opportunity to go to Hong Kong, to visit the residents in the Taoda residential area, and to talk to the students of the University of Hong Kong. I would like to ask this journalist from Hong Kong to convey my best regards to the Hong Kong compatriots.
下位记者，中区第2排左边第4位，华盛顿邮报。
Thank you. From the Washington Post newspaper in the USA. Thank you, Prime Minister, for coming here and answering our questions for one last time. 1 year ago here, you were asked by one of my colleagues about the possibility of elections in Hong Kong. And you said it had to come gradually, step by step. The Chinese had to first show they can run a village and then a township. This year, people all over the world are electing their leaders in direct elections. And that has had many people wondering and asking the question, exactly when will Chinese citizens enjoy these same rights to elect their leaders in a competitive direct election? Thank you.
我是华盛顿邮报的记者。1年以前呢，我的一个记者同事曾经向您问到一个关于在中国进行直选的问题。当时您表示呢，这个进程应该是循序渐进的。首先呢，中国老百姓应该证明他们有能力来管好一个村的事务，然后他们逐渐可以管好一个乡、一个县的这个事务。今年呢，在世界许多国家，老百姓都将会通过直接选举选出自己的领导人。那么人们不仅要问，什么时候在中国的老百姓才能够通过这种竞争性的、直接性的选举选出他们的领导人呢？
是的，我曾经不仅一次的提出过吧，要坚定不移的实行村民自治，并且保护村民直选的合法权利。现在，农村村委会许多实践证明，农民通过直选村委会，是成功的。他们不仅有高度的热情，而且按照村民自治法制定了严格的选举办法。我至今还是这样认为。群众能够管好一个村，就能够管好一个乡的事情。能够管好一个乡，就能够管好一个县的事情。我们应该按照这条道路，鼓励群众大胆实践，并且在实践中使他们受到锻炼。我相信中国的民主制度 会依照中国的国情，循序渐进地得到发展。这也是任何力量所阻挡不住的。谢谢。
I have said on several occasions that we must adhere to the practice of self-governance by villagers in China, and the villagers' lawful right to directly elect the village committees must be protected. What has happened shows that this has been a successful practice. The Chinese villagers have shown strong enthusiasm in participating in this process, and strict methods of election have been formulated on the basis of the law of self-governance by villagers of China. I still believe that if the people are able to run the affairs of a village well, gradually they will be able to run the affairs of a township and then a county. We must continue to encourage the people to take bold steps to experiment, and that can help enhance our people's ability in this regard through various practices. I believe that the democratic system of China will continue to move forward in keeping with China's national conditions, and no force will be able to hold this process back. Thank you.
好，下一个问题。北区第6排那位男士。挡住了，对，摄像机，对，那位男士，对，这位，第二个，对。
感谢主持人，总理你好，财经杂志记者提问：今年的经济增速调低为7.5%，这是否意味着，这是暂时性的这个减速，还是会变成一个常态性？那么中国经济是否已经告别了高增长的阶段？还有就是国际社会上在某种程度将度过经济危机的希望基于中国经济的高速增长。现在中国调低的增速会对国际经济的复苏产生哪些影响？谢谢。
With the 财经 The GDP growth target for this year has been set at 7.5%. I would like to ask, is it just a temporary cut in the growth speed, or is it more of a permanent one? Does it mean that this will be the end of China's high economic growth period? Secondly, the international community has, to some extent, placed the hope of tiding over the financial crisis on China's strong economic growth. How will the downward adjustment of China's growth target affect global economic recovery?
政府工作报告做了以后，世界上各种媒体反响最大的，就是关于中国经济增长的速度。我以为他们抓住了一个要害问题。这次我们将多年的中国经济增速在8%以上调低到7.5%。其主要目的就是要真正使经济增长转移到依靠科技进步和提高劳动者素质上来。真正实现高质量的增长，真正有利于经济结构调整 和发展方式的转变，真正使中国经济的发展摆脱过度依赖资源消耗和污染环境，而走上一条节约资源、能耗、保护生态环境的正确道路上来，真正使中国经济的发展能最终惠及百姓的民生。这个决心是在制定“十二五”规划时就下了的。我们把“十二五”规划设定的目标是7%。今年确定经济增长7.5%，是为了与“十二五”规划的要求相衔接。同时，我也必须说明，这是我们主动调控的结果。应该承认，由于欧债危机、外部市场萎缩，中国经济有下行的压力。但是，在这种情况下，我们调低速度，还主要是为了结构调整。我想说明一点的是，当我们宣布这个指标以后，许多国家的经济界专家学者、新闻媒体都认为，从本质上看，这是一个利好消息，因为中国经济能够克服不平衡、不协调、不可持续的问题，真正走上一条注重质量的发展道路，从根本上有利于世界经济的发展。现在对于我们来说，还是要把握好保持经济平稳较快发展、结构调整、管好通胀预期三者的关系。中国的经济总量已经达到47万元的人民币。在这个基础上，增长7.5%，并不算低。 如果一直保持这个速度，在经济总量不断增长的情况下，更不算低。而且，我们要想方设法，使同样的经济总量能够换取更大的经济效益，能够使百姓能得到更多的实惠。我们一定能够做到这一点，这是我们的目标。谢谢。
After I delivered the government work report, the highest attention from media organizations across the world has been paid to the annual growth target of China. I believe they have put their interest on a very important issue. For years, we have set the average annual growth target of the Chinese economy at around 8%. But this year, we have set the target at 7.5%. This is because we want to shift China's economic growth towards the progress in science and technology and the higher educational level of the Chinese labor force. We hope that China's economy will achieve a high-quality growth, and our economic development will serve the primary goals of making structural adjustment to the Chinese economy and the shift of our growth model. We hope that China's economic growth will no longer come at the cost of resources consumption and environmental pollution. Rather, we will be able to put China's economic growth on a path that is conducive to energy conservation and the protection of the eco-environment. We hope that China's economic development will deliver greater benefits to the Chinese people. We have already made this decision in the formulation of the 12th five-year plan. We have set the average annual GDP growth during the 12th five-year plan period at 7%. And by setting this year's growth target at 7.5%, we want to bring it in line to fit the requirement set out during the 12th five-year plan period for the economic growth in China. At the same time, I would like to say that the economic slowdown in China is mainly a result of our proactive macro control. One should recognize that China's economy is under downward pressure due to the contraction of external market caused by the European debt crisis. Under such circumstances, we have taken the decision of adjusting downward China's GDP growth target, mainly because we want to continue to press ahead with our economic structural adjustment. With respect to this target of GDP growth this year, it is a consensus among the economists, experts, scholars, and the media organizations from many countries around the world that this is actually a piece of good news for the world. Because if we in China can truly overcome the problem of lack of adequate balance, coordination, and sustainability in our economic growth, and get the Chinese economic growth on a path of quality development, this, in a fundamental way, is good news for the development of the global economy. We must continue to strike a balance among maintaining steady and robust economic development, making economic structural adjustments, and managing the inflation expectations. China's economic aggregates now total around 47 trillion RMB yuan, and that is a very large base figure. And on top of that base figure, a 7.5% GDP growth target is not a low target. Moreover, we must work even harder to enhance our economic growth efficiency so that more benefits will be extended to the Chinese people. We have confidence that we will be able to do that.
好，下一个问题。中区第4排第2位那位女士。
谢谢主持人，总理您好，我是中央电视台和中国网络电视台的记者。我想问您的问题是，近年来其实您已经有很多次提起了要促进社会的公平正义，但是现在社会上一些不公平的现象仍然是老百姓关注的焦点。请问您在任期之内还会做哪些工作来进一步促进社会的公平正义？另外，我们知道其实您常常会上网，在网络上您可以看到网民对政府工作、对您本人的肯定和赞扬，但是也会有拍砖的。您怎么来看待这些批评的声音？谢谢。
With CCTV and CNTV, you have said on many occasions that you must work hard to promote social equity and fairness. But the Chinese people still feel that there are still many problems that involve lack of equity and justice in the Chinese society. I would like to ask you what steps will you take during the remainder of your term of office to promote social fairness and justice? Secondly, we know that you often log onto the internet, and there have been a lot of comments by the netizens of China on your work, of the government, and you yourself. And there are both positive ones and some critical comments. How do you see the criticism about you and your work on the internet?
我曾经说过，公平正义比太阳还光辉。公平正义是社会主义的本质特征。实事求是地讲，9年来，我们为实现社会的公平正义做了大量不可磨灭的工作。首先，在法律上，我们通过修改宪法，将尊重和保障人权写入宪法。我们制定了物权法，使合法的私有财产得到法律的保护。我们修改了选举法，使城乡选民具有平等的权利。我们废除了收容遣散条例，使农民自由进城务工。在短短的几年，中国的城市化率就超过50%。其次，在农村，我们坚决地取消了农业税。减轻了农民的不合理负担。第三，在教育上，我们实行了9年免费义务制教育。 对农村的孩子上职业学校实行免费。同时，对大学和农村高中阶段的教育实行奖助学金制度。对困难地区技术制学校、农村技术制学校给予补贴。第四，我们建立和完善了包括养老、失业、医疗、低保在内的社会保障体系。企业职工医疗保险、企业职工医疗保险，城市居民医疗保险和新农合已经覆盖13亿人口。这些都是我们社会朝着公平正义迈出了具有制度性的一步。当然，我深知社会分配不公，以及司法不公，还引起群众的不满。我们必须继续推进促进社会公平的各项工作。在我任职的最后1年，我们政府将做几件困难的事情。一定要做，努力做好，而不留给后人。第一件事情就是要制定收入分配体制改革的总体方案。第二件事情，就是要制定并出台农村集体土地征收补偿条例，使农民真正保障承包地的财产权。第三，实现城乡养老保险的全覆盖。第四，按照新的标准，全面推进 集中连片的贫困地区的扶贫工作。第五，我们已经将教育经费占 GDP 的4%列入预算。我们一定要通过努力实现这个目标，并使经费合理使用。谢谢你。然后我再答你第二问。
I have said before that equity and justice shine more brightly than the sun. Equity and justice are the defining features of socialism. As a matter of fact, over the past 9 years, the government has put in a large amount of effort in promoting social equity and justice, and I believe these efforts should be widely recognized. On the legal front, we have amended the Chinese constitution, and we have incorporated the requirement that the state respects and protects human rights into the Chinese constitution. We have formulated the property law to protect, on the basis of law, the legal private assets of the Chinese people. We have amended the election law to ensure equal right of election of urban and rural residents. We have abolished the regulations that put restrictions on the freedom of mobility of rural residents into the cities. And in a short span of these years, the urbanization rate in China has exceeded 50%. Secondly, in the rural areas, we have abolished the agricultural tax so as to ease the burden on the part of Chinese farmers. Third, as far as education is concerned, we have basically made the 9-year free compulsory education universally available. We have exempted the tuition fees for students from the rural areas who are engaged in vocational education. We have provided scholarships and financial aid for students from rural areas during their senior middle school and college education. We have provided subsidies for students from poor families who are engaged in the rural boarding school education. Fourth, we have established and improved the social security system that covers old age support, unemployment insurance, medical insurance, and subsistence allowance. The programs of medical insurance for both working and non-working urban residents and the program of the rural cooperative medical care now cover 1.3 billion people in China. All these are the institutional arrangements we have made to promote social equity and justice. I'm fully aware that the people are still complaining about the income disparities and judicial injustice and some other problems. We must continue to do a conscientious job in promoting social equity and justice. In the last year in office, this government plans to take on some tough tasks. We are determined to accomplish these tasks rather than pass the problems to the next government. First, we have the plan to formulate an overall plan for the reform of income distribution system in China. Second, we will formulate and introduce a regulation on the expropriation and compensation of collectively owned rural land, so as to ensure the farmers' property right to the land they have contracted. Third, we will extend the coverage of old age insurance programs to the entire Chinese population. Fourth, on the basis of the newly set poverty standard, we are going to press ahead with the work of poverty elimination. And fifth, the government has arranged the budget for meeting the target of raising the government expenditure on education to 4% of the Chinese GDP. We must make every effort to meet this target and ensure that every piece of this spending will be widely used.
政府的一切权利都是人民赋予的，我们应该创造条件，让人民提出意见，批评政府。因此，在网上听到有拍砖的声音，我并不感到奇怪。我以为这是正常的事情。群众许多批评的意见，值得我们深思。而政府决定重视和决定的许多重大问题，经常是从群众拍砖里头得到的。我甚至考虑把一些经常批评政府的代表人士请到中南海，面对面地听取他们意见。如果你们注意的话，在今年政府工作报告听取意见的安排中，我们已经尝试做了，但还很不够。在我担任总理期间，确实摇着不断。我虽然不为所动，但是心里也不免感到有些痛苦。这种痛苦不是信而见疑、忠而被谤的痛苦，而是我独立的人格不为人们所理解，我对社会隐约感到有点忧虑。我将坚持人言不足恤的勇气，义无反顾地继续奋斗。谢谢。
All the power of the government comes from the people. The government should create conditions for the people to criticize the government's work. I don't feel surprised at all that there have been some critical comments on the internet about the performance of the government, and I think it is only natural for that to happen. I believe that the government must seriously reflect on the critical views that the people have made. As a matter of fact, the government has often found food for thought from those critical comments and views made by the public while taking decisions on major issues. I have often thought about inviting some representatives of people who on a regular basis make critical comments about the work of the government to Zhongnanhai, so that we can have a face-to-face discussion about the issues that they are interested in. If you have followed the news coverage about my work of soliciting views from the public on the report of the work of the government, you may have found out that actually such a practice has been tried, but I don't think it is enough yet. During my term of office as the Premier, there have been some slanders about me. I have not allowed myself to be disturbed by those slanders, but still they have caused some pain. Not the pain because a man of integrity and loyalty has been questioned and wronged, but because my independent character has not won people's understanding, and that has made me feel a bit worried about this society. Well, I will continue to press ahead with my work and to uphold my ideals without hesitation and misgivings, with the courage that one should not fear the rumors and slanders from others.
下位记者，中区第3排中间半导台。
总理好，我是半岛电视台的。众所周知，中国与阿拉伯国家和中东地区的友好关系是由来已久的。中国也一直致力于与国际社会一道解决问题，而在中东问题，尤其是在叙利亚问题上，中国的立场与其他很多国家的存在很大的分歧。那么，中方解决叙利亚问题的立场以及出发点是什么？另外，中国如何看待阿拉伯人民追求民主的诉求？中方是否担心与阿拉伯人民的关系受到影响？谢谢。
With Al Jazeera, the friendly relations between China and Arab countries and the entire Middle East region has had a long history. China has been committed to working with the rest of the international community to help find solutions to related problems. But on the issue of Middle East, in particular the issue of Syria, it seems that there is a wide gap between China's position and the position of many other countries in the world. I want to ask, what exactly is China's position on the issue of Syria, and what is China's consideration behind all its efforts surrounding the Syria issue? How does China see the Arab people's demand for democracy? Is China concerned that its relations with the people of Arab countries will be affected?
在叙利亚问题上，中国没有私利，不会偏袒任何一方，包括叙利亚政府。我们将根据是非曲直来做出自己正确的判断，并决定立场。中国在叙利亚问题上的立场可以概括为4点。第一，要保障平民的生命安全。叙利亚各方都要立即停止对无辜平民的杀戮。第二，中国尊重叙利亚人民的 要求变革和维护自身利益的合理诉求。第三，中国支持联合国和阿蒙特使对叙利亚问题的政治斡旋。第四，对叙利亚人民现在遭受的人道主义的苦难，我们深表同情，已经并将继续参与国际人道主义援助。中国也在用自己的方式加紧做叙利亚各方的工作，开启政治对话的进程。阿拉伯人民追求民主的诉求必须得到尊重和切实的回应，而且我以为这种民主的趋势是任何力量不可阻挡的。中国同阿拉伯有着上千年的交往史，尊重伊斯兰文明，支持阿拉伯的正义事业，是我们一贯的立场。我们已经在各领域开展了富有成效的合作。前不久，我访问了沙特、阿联酋和卡塔尔。我总的感觉，中国与阿拉伯国家、与海湾国家有着共识，合作是主流。在阿拉伯世界的变革中，中国的立场将会为阿拉伯各国所理解，并且赢得信任，最终会增进中国与阿拉伯的关系。谢谢。
On the issue of Syria, China has no personal interests, and China does not seek to protect any party, including the government of Syria. We make our own right and judgment and determine our own position on this issue on the basis of actual facts. The position of the Chinese government on the Syria issue is fourfold. First, the life of civilians must be protected. The killing of civilians must be immediately stopped by all relevant parties in Syria. Second, China respects the legitimate aspiration for change and for the pursuit of their own interests of the Syrian people. Third, China supports the special envoy jointly appointed by the UN and the Arab League in his mediation efforts. Fourth, China has deep sympathies for the humanitarian plight of the Syrian people, and we have participated in the relevant international humanitarian aid, and we will continue to do so. At the same time, China has, through its own ways, worked intensively on the relevant parties for early launch of a political dialogue process. We believe that The demand for democracy by the Arab people must be respected and truly responded to. And I believe this trend towards democracy cannot be held back by any force. There have been exchanges stretching up to 1,000 years between China and the Arab countries. It has been China's consistent position to respect the Islam civilization and support the just cause of Arab countries. The two sides have engaged in productive cooperation in a wide range of areas. Not long ago, I visited Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Qatar. I feel that there is consensus between China and Arab countries, including the Gulf countries, that cooperation has been the mainstay of relationship between the two sides. As the Arab world undergoes changes, I believe the position of the Chinese side will win the understanding and trust of the Arab countries, and eventually the relations and exchanges between China and Arab countries will strengthen.
下一个问题，南区第5排那位男士。对。
谢谢，总理您好，我是中央人民广播电台和中国广播网的记者。最近啊，社会上非常关注一个案件，就是浙江吴英案。那么我想请问，您个人觉得吴英到底该不该被判死刑？另外，同时您怎么看当前民间资本这个投融资难的问题？谢谢。
With China National Radio and its website, people have paid very close attention to the Wu Ying case of Zhejiang province. I would like to ask you, Mr. Premier, do you think Wu Ying should be sentenced to death? And how do you see the difficulty confronting private capital in making investments?
我注意到一段时间以来，社会十分关注吴英案。我想这件事情给我们的启示是：第一，对于民间借贷的法律关系和处置原则，应该做深入的研究。使民间借贷有明确的法律保障。第二，对案件的处理一定要坚持实事求是。我注意到最高人民法院下发了关于慎重处理民间借贷纠纷的案件的通知，并且对吴英案采取了十分审慎的态度。第三，这件事情反映了民间金融的发展，民间金融的发展，与我们经济社会发展的需求还不适应。 现在的问题是，一方面，企业，特别是小型、微型企业，需要大量的资金，而银行又不能满足民间又存有不少的资本，不少的资金。我们应该引导首先是允许民间资本进入金融领域，使其规范化、公开化。既鼓励发展，又加强监管。我可以告诉大家，中国人民银行和中国银监会正在积极考虑将温州的民间金融作为综合改革的试点之一。谢谢。
I have noted that there has been much public attention paid to the Wu Ying case. On this matter, I would like to make the following points. First, a thorough study must be conducted concerning the legal aspects of private lending and the principles that should be observed in handling this matter, so that there will be clearly defined legal safeguards for private lending. Second, the Wu Ying case must be handled on the basis of real facts. I have noted that the Supreme People's Court has issued a circular requiring that all cases concerning the disputes over private lending must be carefully handled, and the Supreme People's Court has taken a cautious attitude towards the Wu Ying case. Third, the case shows, in my view, that private finance can not yet meet the requirement of economic and social development in China. The Chinese companies, in particular small and micro enterprises, need to access funds. The banks have yet to be able to meet those companies' need, and there is a massive amount of idle private capitals. We should allow a non-governmental investment into finance, and we need to bring the private financial activities into the open, standardize those activities. We need to encourage their development and at the same time put them under strict oversight and supervision. I can tell you here that the People's Bank of China and the China Banking Regulatory Commission are now actively considering launching an overall reform in this particular field, with Wenzhou's private financial activities as one of the places for a trial of this reform.
下位记者，北区中间，第4排，中间，法新社。
Thank you very much, Prime Minister, for accepting this question by AFP, 我是法新社的记者。Over the last year, there has been a spate of self-immolation in the Tibetan areas of China. Is this a matter of great concern to you personally, and what do you think your government can do? What's the best way for your government to address this situation? Thank you very much.
我是法新社的记者。自去年以来呢，我们看到在中国的藏区出现了一系列藏人自焚的现象。我想问您本人是否对这一现象深感关切？您领导的政府将采取什么措施？您认为这个政府觉得是什么样的方式才能最好的应对这一局面？
最近一段时间啊，在藏区啊，发生了一些僧人自焚的现象。我们不赞成用这种极端的行动来干扰、破坏社会的和谐。年轻的藏人是无辜的，我们对他们这种行为感到十分沉痛。应该明确的是，西藏和4省藏区都是中国领土不可分割的部分。在印度达兰萨拉设立的所谓西藏的流亡政府，不管是达赖喇嘛直接操控，还是间接影响，都是政教合一的。其目的就是要把西藏和藏区从祖国分离出去。在这个问题上，我们立场和原则是坚定的。在西藏，我们实行民族区域自治制度。虽然西藏这些年经济社会有了很大的发展，但是无容讳言，西藏同内地相比较，还是落后了。因此，中央已经采取了积极的措施，包括制定和落实加快西藏发展的新的规划。这些政策措施的主要目的在于提高农牧民的生活。西藏经济要发展，但同时要注意保护西藏的生态环境和文化传统。我们尊重西藏同胞的 宗教信仰自由，他们的信仰是受到法律保护的。我们对藏族同胞要采取平等和尊重的态度，并且不断地改善我们的工作。谢谢。没关系。
In the past weeks and months, there have been several instances of self-immolation on the part of monks in the Tibetan inhabited areas of China. We are opposed to taking such radical moves which disturb and undermine social harmony. The young Tibetans are innocent. We feel deeply distressed by their behavior. At the same time, I must point out that all should recognize that Tibet and the Tibetan inhabited areas of 4 provinces are inseparable parts of China's territory. The so-called Tibetan government in exile in Dharamsala of India is in nature a theocratic one, both under the direct control of the Dalai Lama or under his indirect influence. The purpose of it is to separate Tibet and the Tibetan inhabited areas of the 4 provinces from China. We have a firm position and principle on this matter. Tibet practices regional ethnic autonomy system. Over the past years, Tibet has made significant progress in economic and social development. But we also recognize that Tibet is still behind the central and eastern parts of China in terms of economic and social progress. The Chinese government has taken strong measures to accelerate the economic and social development in Tibet, including the formulation of a new plan for that purpose, in the hope that we will be able to further promote the living standards of the farmers and herdsmen in Tibet. Tibet needs to develop its economy on a sustained basis. At the same time, we must pay close attention to eco-environment conservation and the preservation of Tibet's cultural heritage. We respect the freedom of religious belief of Tibetan compatriots, and their religious belief is protected by the law. We must treat all our Tibetan compatriots as equals and with respect, and make continuous improvement in our work in this area.
对不起，我们的记者
如果不累的话，我们再提2个问题。
If you are not too tired, I would like to take 2 more questions.
好，请继续提问。中区靠第7排后面那位男士，第7排。那边那位第7排。
总理你好，我是中国新闻社和中国新闻网的记者。我们知道，中国经济多年来强劲增长，但贫富差距问题也日益突出。您在最近几年的政府工作报告中也多次提到，要努力扭转收入分配差距扩大的趋势。请问中国政府将采取哪些措施来扭转来解决这个问题，让更多的人民分享改革和发展的成果？谢谢。
With China News Service and its website, the Chinese economy has sustained robust growth over the recent years, but at the same time, the problem of a widening income gap has become more acute. In your government report in recent years, you have said several times that the government wants to reverse the trend of a widening wealth gap in China. My question is, what steps will the government take to resolve this problem so that more Chinese people will be truly sharing the fruits of China's reform and development?
关于缓解收入分配差距的问题， 我想着重从4个方面入手。第一呢，就是提高城乡居民的收入。提高最低工资的水平，使城乡居民的收入能与经济增长和劳动生产率的提高相适应。第二，就是调节收入，调节收入分配，要限制高收入者的收入，特别是国有企业和国有金融企业的高管人员的收入。要增加中等收入的比重。就国有企业和国有金融企业高管人员的收入，要增加中等收入的比重，这个增长的比重。第三，就要建立健全社会保障制度。第四，要保护合法收入和取缔非法收入。我以为在收入分配当中，特别应该把握好3点。首先就是要为所有的人创造一个学习、就业和创业的均等条件，让他们在同一起跑线上起跑。其次，要关心弱势群体的生活。一个国家如果弱势群体生活状况得以改善，那么整个国家群众生活的状况也会得以改善。第三，要重视财政和收入分配制度的改革，使共同富裕建立在制度的基础之上。谢谢。
To address the problem of income disparities, I believe it is important that we take steps in the following 4 areas. First, we will continue to increase the incomes of urban and rural residents. We will raise the level of minimum wage so that the people's income will be able to rise in tandem with economic growth and increase in productivity. Second, we will make adjustments to income distribution. We will further regulate the incomes of high-income groups, in particular the pay and bonuses of senior management of state-owned enterprises and state-owned financial institutions. We will raise the proportion of middle-income groups. Third, we will further improve the social security system. And fourth, we will protect lawful incomes and resolutely ban illegal incomes. To promote income equality, I believe the following 3 points are very important. First, the government must create equal conditions for all in terms of education, employment, and starting one's own business, so that all people will be able to get started from the same starting line. Second, we must pay closer attention to the well-being of the vulnerable groups in the society. I believe if the living conditions of those people can be improved, in essence, there will be a sweeping improvement of living standards of all the people in the society. Third, we must continue to reform the fiscal system and income distribution system so as to put in place the institutional arrangements for us to achieve the goal of common prosperity.
下一位记者，中区第4排中间法新社路透社。
好，谢谢温总理路透社记者最后2个问题呢。第一个问题就是关于你在政府工作报道中所提到的关于这个地方债务的问题，您是怎么看待这个问题？到现在为止，就是全国各地方政府的债务已经形成什么样的规模？在处理这个问题的过程中，你有什么想法的？就是到底有多少这些债务会进行重组？或者就是还款的期限的时间会被延期。另外呢，在应对这个问题的过程中，还有什么新的政策会出台的？第2个问题就是关于大家都很关心的这个重庆市所发生的这个所谓的王立军事件呢。现在王立军进入美国领事馆以后，中央的有关部门已经进行调查。您本人是怎么看待这个事件呢？你觉得这一事件会不会影响中央政府对重庆市政府和社会领导的信任？谢谢。
With Reuters, I have 2 questions. You referred to the problem of local government debt in your government work report. I would like to get your personal perspective on this matter. How big exactly is the local government debt at the moment? What are your thoughts about addressing this problem? Will you consider reorganizing or reshuffling the local government debt? And will the central government consider extending the payment maturity for those local government debts? Secondly, a question about the Wang Lijun incident, which has occurred in Chongqing. I have noticed that the relevant governmental departments of China have conducted investigation into this matter after Wang Lijun entered the U.S. consulate. How do you see this matter? Will this matter affect the trust or confidence of the central government in the leadership of Chongqing municipality and the government of Chongqing municipality?
关于地方政府债务问题，我想明确地告诉你以下几点。第一，中国政府债务的负担率和赤字率目前处于较低的水平，低于许多发达国家和新兴经济体。第二，政府性债务的水平是可控的、安全的。2010年，我们主动审议了 地方债务，总规模为10.7万亿。2011年，新增债务仅有3亿，其中新举债21536亿，偿债21533亿。第三，对于地方债务的处置，我们将妥善处理存量，严格控制增量。对存量，主要是通过分类管理、区别对待、逐步化解的原则，加以处理。对于增量，今后所有的地方债务都必须列入财政预算和决算，接受同级人民代表大会的监督。第四，在处理地方债务上，因为大量的债务形成了还是优质资产，有现金流和收益。对于这样的企业，我们将通过它的收益来进行偿还。对于公益性项目，要通过政府，包括中央政府和地方政府负责偿还。我可以负责地告诉你，我们去年已经成功地偿还了所有义务教育阶段学校的债务。当然，在偿还地方债务中，我们也会采取市场化的办法，比如资产处置、项目转让和股权出售。总之我们会认真对待地方债务，绝不会让它干扰中国的建设。谢谢。第二个问题我一会儿回答啊。
On local government debt, I would like to make the following points. First, the debt to GDP and budget deficit to GDP ratios of China are at a fairly low level. They are both lower than those of many developed countries and emerging market economies. And second, government debt in China is at a controllable and safe level. In 2010, we audited local government debts. The volume stood at 10.7 trillion RMB yuan. And by the end of 2011, this figure only increased by 300 million RMB yuan. A total of 2,153.6 billion RMB yuan of new loans were made, and a total of 2,153.3 billion RMB yuan of debt was repaid. And third, in the handling of local government debt, we will properly handle the debt stock and put a cap on the increase of local government debts. We will properly handle the outstanding local government debt in a step-by-step manner by classifying the debt into different categories and managing them accordingly. For any increase in local government debt, the revenues and expenditures must be incorporated into the local government's budgets and final accounts and be subject to the supervision of people's congresses at the same level. Fourth, the majority of local government debt is actually in the form of high-quality assets with stable cash flows and promising returns. The debt of some projects can actually be repaid by the returns made on those projects. And for projects of public welfare, both the central and local governments will find ways to pay the debt off. As a matter of fact, last year we have been able to pay off all the debts of the schools during the compulsory education period. At the same time, we will also let the market play a role in handling the local government debt through such ways as asset disposal, the transfer of projects, and the selling of equity. In a word, we will take the matter of local government debt very seriously, and we will not allow it to adversely affect China's development.
王立军事件发生以后，引起社会高度的关注。在国际社会上也十分关注。我可以告诉大家，中央高度重视，立即责成有关部门进行专门调查。目前调查已经取得进展，我们将以事实为依据，以法律为准则，严格依法办理。调查和处理的结果一定会给人民以回答，并且经受住法律和历史的检验。多年来啊，重庆市历届政府和广大人民群众为改革建设事业付出了很大的努力， 也取得了明显的成绩。但是现任重庆市委和市政府必须反思并认真从王立军事件中吸取教训。我在这里想讲一段话，建国以来，在党和政府的领导下，我国的现代化建设事业取得了巨大的成就，但是我们也走过弯路，有过教训。党的11届三中全会，特别是中央作出关于正确处理若干历史问题的决议以来，确立了解放思想、实事求是的思想路线和党的基本路线，并且做出了改革开放这一决定中国命运和前途的重大抉择。历史告诉我们，一切符合人民利益的实践，都要认真吸取历史的经验教训，并且经受住历史和实践的考验。这个道理，全国人民懂得，因此，我们对未来抱有信心。
The Wang Lijun incident has received high attention from people in China and beyond. I would like to tell you that the central authorities have taken this matter very seriously, and after this incident took place, the central authorities immediately gave the instruction that the relevant authorities should start an investigation into this matter, and so far progress has been made in the investigation. We will handle this issue in strict accordance with law on the basis of facts. As far as the result of the investigation and how this matter will be handled are concerned, an answer must be given to the people, and the result of the investigation should be able to stand the test of the law and history. Over the years, the successive governments of Chongqing and the people in Chongqing have made tremendous efforts to promote reform and development, and they have achieved remarkable progress in this regard. The current party committee and government of Chongqing must seriously reflect on the Wang Lijun incident and learn lessons from this incident. Since the founding of the People's Republic of China, under the leadership of our party and the government, remarkable achievements have been made in advancing China's modernization drive. Yet at the same time, we have taken some detours and learned hard lessons. Since the third plenum of the 11th CPC Central Committee, in particular since the central authorities took the decision on the correct handling of relevant historical issues, we have established the line of thinking that we should free our minds and seek truth from facts, and we have formulated the basic guideline of our party. In particular, we have taken the major decision of conducting reform and opening up in China, a decision that is crucial for China's future and destiny. What has happened shows that any practice that we take must be based on the experience and lessons we have gained from history, and it must serve the people's interests. The practice that we take must be able to stand the test of history and the reality. I believe the people fully recognize this point, and I have full confidence in our future.
我认真没有敷衍地回答了记者朋友的每一个问题，整整3个小时了，是不是可以结束了？
Serious answers to all the questions from the journalists, and none of my answer is a perfunctory one. It's been 3 hours, so I suppose we can call it the end of the press conference today.
好，记者会到此结束，感谢温总理，谢谢各位记者朋友，
谢谢大家，再见。